Welcome CSE 102 class to PP03 self-playing slideshow. We're just going to we're going to create just a basic, not a theme, but we're going to set up a basic template just to make a self-playing slideshow. So if you ever had to make one for any kind of event or any kind of open house or anything where you just wanted to create your own slideshow, we're going to do that. And you can make it self-playing so that you don't have to have someone there kind of clicking on the next button or making it navigate, which I've had to do myself. So PowerPoint made it easy. So we're going to start by doing that. And we're just going to put in pictures of anything that you want. So you'll just find some kind of theme to use. You're going to create a new blank presentation to start with nothing in it. What you're going to do when you come in here is we're just going to put a title on here. We'll make our title slide. And then on the next one, we'll kind of get rid of all the stuff on it. So I'm just going to call it, my slideshow. And you could call it PP03 if that's what you're using. And I'll just put my name on here. Now it looks pretty boring to start. And just like one of our other exercises, we'll format the background. So you could right click and do format background. And maybe you want to put a texture or color back there, or you can do a gradient. You can do anything you want. I'm just going to put a texture and I'll put canvas back there, which is kind of nice. And I'll even make it lighter. They have transparency here. You can see if it's all the way up, it's really dark. And if you turn the transparency down, it's a little bit lighter. So you have the ability to, make it transparent or opaque or somewhere in between. If you want to lighten it up, you could do that. So that's just the background on there. And also what you're going to do next is we'll make this headline Georgia bold, because this is kind of like thin and doesn't stand out very well. So we'll go to the Home tab to do that. We'll just change our font to Georgia. And I had used it another time, so I'll make it Georgia bold. We could change the color later once we get a picture in here. We might want to use a picture. Name, I don't know, this looks a little small. Make it a little bigger. Make it like 32 for now. So that's pretty plain for now. Like I said, we'll wait on the color till we actually get a picture, because maybe we'll take one of our pictures from a slideshow, put it here, and then we could borrow that. Now if you want to move this around a little, I can move it up a little, because maybe we'll put a picture down below. And if you want to move these boxes, some people have a hard time doing this. Make sure you get that little quad arrow and just kind of move the box up. And then maybe we'll put a picture down here. So this is how our first slide is, and then I'll insert a new slide. Now the second one comes up with title and content, and see, I didn't make a theme here, so now it's having the we have the same issue with the background. So you can what would be easier to do instead of inserting that, since now it's using the blank master theme. So I'm actually going to just go over here and delete this. And then what I'll do is I'll duplicate this. That would be easier, because then it would retain everything we have here. So instead of new slide, what I'll do is I'll go from my drop down and I'll say duplicate selected slides. That way it'll keep everything I just did. I don't have to do that over. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the quad arrow and click on that and get rid of it. And if you see any other boxes there, template boxes, just get rid of them. And I'm going to keep this for now, this my name thing. Not that we're going to put our name on it, but we're going to make a caption. So I might as well just use this box. We might use this for something, and right away I might actually highlight it down here and change it to like maybe Georgia, and maybe make it italic, a nice Georgia italic at the bottom. That might be nice for captions underneath our photos. So we're going to put photos on here for our slideshow. That's the whole idea of a slideshow, and I'm just going to get them from online. You don't have to take any pictures or anything. And I always do, some people do puppies, some people do all kinds of different things. I thought, well, here's something different. Let's do a tractor. So I just picked out tractors. So I'm just going to copy and paste some tractors in. Here's a tractor stuck in the mud. That's pretty cool. Now you can see it's pretty big right now. You can just right click on it and you could do copy image, and you could go back to PowerPoint and you could just paste it. And I'll just paste picture from one of these things here. Now when I came in here, it's really big. It came in giant because you could, the one I had was really high resolution. So it's like gigantic. So you could grab it. I'm zooming out first, and then I'll grab from the corner and I'll make it a lot smaller. And you don't want to use really big ones, because they can make your file size bigger. And then now I'll zoom back in now that I have it kind of on my page better. Now if I wanted to crop this a little bit, I could double click on here, and they should have a crop just like in Word. I'll click on crop, and they have these little kind of borders that you could bring in. And it's not the one that scales it, it's kind of the one in front of it. So you got to make sure that you see that. It's this thing right here. Yeah, it's like a little L thing. And there it is there. It's really hard to see on this screen. I'll just crop it a little bit better here. And when I click off it, I won't see that anymore. So now it looks kind of plain right now. I'm going to put a little, you could put an effect on it. They have all these kind of picture styles here. Sometimes I just put like a drop, they have a mirror thing, they have a drop shadow, whatever you want to put on there. I'll just use a basic drop shadow. And you know, if you wanted to put a border on it, you could put your own border on it. I think they have one that has, if you click on here, they have ones that have, you know, borders on them already. You can, here's one with that has a moderate frame with a drop shadow. That looks okay. You could always go in and edit your border if it's too thick or anything like that. Like just for example, if I go into here, I'll go to my fill because that's probably where I'm going to find the line. They have solid line. It's like 15 points. So let's say you thought it was too big. I could go on this thing and, you know, make it like, you know, 10 point or something. So I'll make it a little smaller. Same thing with anything like the shadow and all that kind of stuff. That would be under, well, there's shadow here. So if you wanted the shadow a little bit bigger or the size a little bit bigger or any of this stuff, the blur a little bit more, you can increase the blur on here. You can decrease the blur, and you could experiment with some of that. But and then, you know, then these effects I'll just kind of apply, you know, to other things. So I'll bring this in first, and I'll just kind of set it in here. And this is, you know, I'll just call this Tractor in Mud. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll duplicate this slide. I'll just say duplicate, I'll right click and duplicate, and there it is again. And then I'll get rid of this one, and I'll just go find another one, and then I'm going to repeat that. So I'm not going to record myself doing that, but I'll kind of do a couple different tractors here, and then I'll come back, and then we'll make it into a self-playing slideshow. I'm back after pasting in my tractors and doing my captions. I have tractor on road as my last slide. I have classic tractor, and I need a space in here. I have tank tractor. I don't know what this thing is, but it has like bands on it like a tank. Here's the tractor in wheat, and the first one I did, which was tractor in mud. Now I didn't put the borders on them because remember when we did borders, I adjusted them a little bit. But then you might say, well, how am I going to, what if I wanted the exact same border here? Since I customize it, how am I going to apply that same border to all of those? And I was looking over here for a way to save these, because in other programs like Photoshop you can save effects. They don't really have a save effect here, at least that I found. Doesn't mean there isn't one, but one thing you can do to save time a little bit, if you click on this picture that you have there and use Format Painter, and you could use Format Painter in, you know, with text and things like that, but if you click here, I'm going to double click on it, and then I'll go to this slide, and I'll just kind of click on the picture, and then I'll go to this slide. Let's see if it's still activated. I'll click on the picture, and then I'll go to this slide, click on the picture, and I'll do that to the last slide, and I'll click on the picture, and then I'll turn this off. Now, one thing I did, instead of having to do it one at a time, I'll just go back and show you, is when I clicked on my first one, I double clicked on Format Painter. That allowed me to do it multiple times, and they have instructions here. If you're not familiar with it, they tell you what to do. So if you double click, then you could apply it to multiple things without having to get out of Format Painter. So that's a little trick to, if you did a custom border on here, anything different, you know, that way if you changed it, you could just change one and then you could go back and change them, you know, do it the same way. And there might be some way to save a custom picture border, but I'm not aware of it yet. So, you know, that's one thing that would work. So we have our slideshow here. So the next thing we're going to do on our slideshow is we're going to put a transition on it. So we're going to put a transition between all these slides. And actually, before I do that, let me go on to my first one here, and I'll copy a tractor. Let me just find a nice tractor. I'll copy this one, and I'll just do a Control-C, and I'll go to here. I'll go back to my first slide. And keep in mind, I use very big images, so that it's making the file size very big. Just be aware of that. So, you know, if it's moving a little slow, that's why. So I'll paste my other big tractor here. Now, I don't want it that big, obviously. I just want a small version here on the front, and I'll just kind of put it here. Maybe I'll rotate it a little bit. I think they use this thing to rotate it, and I don't want the border so big now, so I'll go to my paint bucket and I'll go to where my line is, and maybe I'll just take it to like half the size, and it doesn't need that big of a border. And I mentioned about taking the color, because maybe you'd want to take the color out of here. Maybe you'd want to highlight this color and go to your fill color, which is this thing, and you could use the eyedropper, and if you wanted to take it out of the, you take it right out of the tractor. There, that just makes it a little more kind of consistent that you took the green color out of the tractor. So that's kind of the front. So now that we want to do a slideshow, what we want to do is you could shift click and highlight all the slides, and we're going to go to transitions, and we'll just do one transition between all the slides. And I recommend doing that. I don't recommend doing a different one for each slide. And you could, they have all these transitions up here. They have a lot of cool things you could kind of look at, like curtains and stuff like that, all kinds of crazy stuff to do. I'm just going to do something real simple, like I'll do a push right now. I'll try that. I don't know if I did that. It'll kind of preview what that looks like. So I'm just going to do that. And what I'm also going to do is while I'm in transitions, I'm going to go up here to on mouse click, because that means the transition will happen on mouse click, and I'll just uncheck that so it goes automatically. I'm going to uncheck mouse click, and then for after, I'm just going to increase this. I'll just make it like 5 seconds, so my slideshow lasts 5 seconds, or how many seconds you want it to last. So I'll just do that. They have a duration here, but I think that's for the sound. So this is the one we're using. We're unchecking on mouse click, and we're doing duration 5 seconds. And I think there's a thing here that says apply to all, and here's apply to all, and I'll do that. It's not a checkbox, it's just a button. And I have them, so even if you didn't have them all selected, it would apply to all. So we're just going to see how that works. We're just going to test it out. And one other thing we're going to do is we're going to go to slideshow, and we're going to go to setup slideshow. And this is really tiny here on my screen, but what we're going to do on slideshow is loop continuously until escape. So it'll loop on its own. So we'll put that there. So it loops on its own. That means it's going to be a self-playing slideshow. And I think there's something that says use timings, and that's already checked because we already did that. So we're going to say use timings because we already put the after thing when we uncheck the on mouse click. So that's all we should need. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to try it out. I'm just going to do play from beginning. And there's the first one. And then after 5 seconds, the next one should play. And there it is. And then the next one should play after 5 seconds. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a beautiful slideshow of tractors? There's tractor in wheat. There's tank tractor. There's our classic tractor. And then I think the last one is, a tractor on the road. And there's our tractor on the road. And it should go back to the beginning. And I think you could even set up this to skip the first slide if you'd want to. But that's our self-timing slideshow. That's all you have to do. And that is PPO3.